All right, welcome to another episode from the chart readers. What a good day across the sector. You know, my last video was about things being really disjointed. I'm never a fan of that, right? I want things to move together if they're in the same sector, right? Sometimes you'll see me make like viewer requests where I have like a mix of stocks and we're just kind of talking. When I'm doing a sector review, look, I'm hoping they're all going up, right? But they all at the minimum should be going in unison. Today, I think we saw that really well. Look, I know all four didn't do double digit big numbers. We at least saw that on a couple of them, right? Which isn't too bad. But I think the recurring theme across the sector was supports held, and that's a big part of this. Look, generally I give less love to my lines and more the five, like these are computer generated moving averages, right? Like some computers using way more decimals than I'll ever even think about. Hey, that's a little bit of a pun on this quantum computing stock sector that we're using, right? But yeah, sometimes you'll see it, it's either going to be my line, sometimes you'll see it, it's going to be these. But yeah, that's kind of the theme across the sector. The one thing I do want to call out, I zoomed down, I should have stayed up here. So look, the next FOMC meeting is in about 5 days, right? It's on the 18th. You can see I'm actually already starting to look forward. It gives you most of next year, but so far expectations for the 18th, again the one that's in 4 days, you can see I'm not logged in. All of this stuff is free. It's not a bad website actually, especially given the fact that it's free, but we're pretty much holding a low 90% that we're going to go down, right? So we're sitting up here at 475. We're assuming we're going to come down 25 points, 25 basis points, whatever you want to call it. Just sounds smart, doesn't matter, right? But we're expecting a rate cut. And as long as Powell does what Powell is supposed to do, what everyone's expecting, that really should help dictate what's going on, okay? Before I talk about the tickers, look, the indices are still a little more disjointed than I'd like. Dow Jones Industrial is actually below the 8, is actually below the 20. Not looking very, very nice. We've got the red over green on both the MACD and RSI. That's different than the S&P 500, all right? It's at least trying to hold the 8 moving average, definitely nowhere near the 20 or under it. And it's different than NASDAQ right there, which is actually still bouncing on the 8 moving average, right? So I want the indices to be in unison as well. Since they're not, hey, NASDAQ better hold. Lo and behold, it still is, right? So as long as NASDAQ keeps bouncing on the 8, you know, it's all good. There's definitely a part of me that does believe that either the Dow Jones is going to recover and NASDAQ's strength is going to pull it up, or vice versa, Dow Jones is going to keep going down and this will eventually pull it, and you can see S&P 500's in the middle. I imagine if Powell does what Powell's supposed to do, things will continue up. But hey, at the minimum, NASDAQ's doing the job, right? And again, I'm going to talk about it on the video. I do see more of a unison than the rest, right? Let me just flash it just in case you're only going to watch these opening thoughts, right? But we're holding, we never come down anywhere near the 8 moving average, right? I kept talking about 530, 540, right? We never come that low, which was great. We actually, I'll talk about more details later, right? But still over the 8, we're now, you can see one day over the line. Definitely needs to be more, and I'll talk about the importance of that line shortly, all right? With QBTS, same story, right? Look, one candle under the 8 moving average is never something to get super worried about. It's the one after that we care about, and hey, this is why, right? Look, this was a nice drawn line. To me, what I really see is a nice recovery of the 8 moving average and a real good strong candle. I'll talk about the lower indicator shortly, right? But again, support is holding. We're seeing that. IONQ, exact same thing. Look, these are dojis never count, right? So we're basically living on, kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do. Lo and behold, the supports hold, right? You can call it the golden line, you can call it the moving averages. Nonetheless, I'm seeing that consistency that wasn't there on the last video, right? It wasn't yesterday. I wasn't feeling well yesterday. It was Wednesday, right? And then QUBT. even this one is at least still trying, right? You can maybe argue this is the weakest of it. Hey, so is the volume, and you know I'm going to be talking about the volume a bunch, right? But nonetheless, supports are at least trying to hold. I like that unison in the sector. Little disjointed in the indice side, right? But hey, NASDAQ Ocean is still riding the 8, still making me feel comfortable. That's an important thing, right? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? Hold on, sorry. Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's talk about the strength of what's going on here, right? You know, I think things are going so well. I'm going to start deleting a couple of these lines. I don't think we need these 2 anymore. At this point, we have moving averages that are basically, again, I started the video with it. I do believe these are better, you know, than my little simple human clicks, right? But as we start going up, as we start riding above the lines and we don't have these to use, that's where I think the clicks still matter, right? So for now, I'll only keep these 2. I think we're going to delete those. What am I seeing? I'm seeing a beautiful ride of the 8 moving average, all right? And before I keep going up here, let's talk about volume, all right? Generally, when you go from 300 million down to 100 million, that's a little worrisome. All of a sudden, you've just given up 2/3 of your volume right there, right? What I think is a little easier to focus on is I'm going to ignore these 2 days. I'm going to ignore this day. All of a sudden, I actually see a very healthy volume. Look at the slope of that right there, right? That's nice, steady growth right there. And hey, with the occasional lovely, we'll get a couple silly things that happen up there, right? But yeah, even outside of those 3 outlier days, and hey, they're good outlier days, right? I don't want to ignore them by any means, but yeah, look at that. That is really nice. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel like, hey, maybe we're going to get into that like 150, 180, 170-ish number in volume. And that's the next threshold I'm trying to hit right now, right? So keep that number in your back pocket. We're basically looking for and I'm sorry, I normally say that at the end, but we're going to start it with here. I would love 175 million shares per day. I'm going to have a 7-hour trading day, so that's why I'm dividing right there. We're looking for at least 25 million shares per hour. If the second hour of trading is near 50 million shares on Rigetti, oh man, we're going to destroy this line, all right? And let's take a zoom out real quick, okay? Take a zoom out, take a zoom out, take a zoom out till here. Yeah, till here. That's the view. We have never very well been over this line since all the way back here. This is the last good candle, all the way in March of 2022. We're knocking on the door of 3 full years before we had some nice green candles over that line, okay? Normally, I say the 200 moving average is the hardest for a reason. Right now, this is the equivalent of that and then some. When you're looking at a resistance, a line that you haven't been over for knocking on 3 years, don't underestimate the difficulty of getting over that, okay? That said, coming to the line with the volume of 175 million shares behind you, oh man, you hear me say it all the time, right? I'm not here to talk about squeezes, right? Like, look, I have nothing against squeezes, nothing, whatever brings the volume is good with me. I think the more educated thing to talk about is volume. You know what I mean? I gotta close the door because my wife just got home and I'm recording and she heard that as I said that, which is good. But volume is what brings squeezes, and if you can bring it and you can show that volume is king and volume is queen for the ladies watching, and you come with it, that line will go. All right, otherwise, hey, this eight still going up, at some point the eight is naturally going to be the thing that takes us over the line, right? But I personally would rather it be volume and so on, right? So look, right now it looks like it's a little flat after hours. I for sure don't care about that right now at all, right? We're looking at a very nice percent. We're looking at a really good candle too, right? Let's just click into it. The high of the day was $7.20. This thing closed just 4 cents under that, right? There's such a baby wick right there. For the most part, everyone was buying, 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 and the market said, "Hey, hey, 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 get out of here. Come back Monday if you really want." Right? So I'm liking the strength of the candle. I like that we never came down to my 540. Right? We never tested 50%. We very quickly look at this. We actually took over 50% of that red candle right there. That's give or take. Right where I'm clicking is right where we opened. Once you take half the candle, you hear me say that all the time, right? So boom, 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 and then hey, once we surpass this one, that's really where most of the juice came. I get why this was hard to get over. Look, even this one, I there is a difference in candles for a reason. There is good and just all right good, maybe even bad good, arguably, right? So real quick, we talked about this hammer. There was someone in the comments that said this was a bullish hammer. Look, I'm not a pattern trader by any means. What's the word? Shooting star. This is how I have to search for. I literally have to do this myself to come look for this thing. Shooting star seems to be what the name is. This thing. Okay, I called this a hanging man candle. I said because of this candle, I said that it was a little bit on the high side with the RSI. You can see that it was a 91 on the RSI. I was assuming it was going to be a down day. Lo and behold, it actually was. Clearly, we recovered from it, right? So I'm calling it a hanging man literally from this. If you actually have more educated thoughts on that, hey, please feel free. I'm really just here talking about riding the lines. You know what I mean? That's what I bring to the table, all right? Let's come down here to finish off the lower indicators. Look, I just mentioned it, right? We were pushing a 91 RSI at the peak right there. What was the day before? Day before was a 90. Day before that was an 86. Candle before that into last week was an 83. And even the little simple doji right here, that was the last healthy number at 74. So we rode from a crazy high 74, a real nice 74 all the way to a crazy high 91, bringing us back down to, look at that, a pretty healthy 76, and roughly speaking, that's where we're at now, right? Most of the time, I would say, hey, that's a little bit on the high side. I get uncomfortable around 80. Again, I started with it, and I'm going to end with it. As long as NASDAQ is holding, as long as NASDAQ doesn't lose the 8 moving average, as long as this one's good, we're okay looking at these tech stocks, right? You got to keep an eye on the S&P 500, which is kind of, flat, and the Dow Jones as well, right? Believe me, you do. Even when you're focusing on tech, you got to look at the others, because I think that the same sector unity with the indexes, all right? So I went a little long on Rigetti. I did, but I think those are some good thoughts right there. Let me know yours, please. Let me know if you disagree. Otherwise, QBTS. Let's come into this one. And hey, this is a beautiful example of some technicals right here, all right? And I'm gonna maybe repeat some stuff that I said on the Rigetti one. I went a little longer than I expected, but yeah, just a few immediate things. So real quick, if you can subscribe and share, that'd be awesome. So the thing I really want to start doing is I'm going to delete these lines. This line's basically the 50 moving average. This line's basically those two moving averages. I always say I like these lines more, and things get a little less cluttered, I think, when you do this, right? So right now, I see an amazing technical strength and an amazing hold of the 8 moving average, which is what we have been doing since we broke all and flew, right? We're one candle below, doji don't count, right back over and go. We open below, we wick below, but I don't care. We close above, we hold and we go, right? This was the first one that was under. Hey, I'm glad that we were over my line. Don't get me wrong, right? But again, I got to believe this is the better line for sure, right? We're under it. There's a little bit of concern for sure. No, no, no. We're going to go and go, right? I think once you break that 50%, once you break that 8 moving average, most of the gain was actually over that. You know what I mean? So sometimes you hear me say just it doesn't hurt to wait. I think that's a really nice example. Even with the RGTI chart, right? If you just waited to break the biggest candle to the left, you actually would have gained most of that 19% candle. You know what I mean? So there's no such thing as safe by any means, but that's what we're looking for here, right? And I think that is a little more catchable than a squeeze, right? So I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I think there's some technical reasoning to it. Look, we had a peak RSI of 85. That's actually a normal high number. We bring it right back down to a very, very healthy 68. That was the lowest of this. We're still at a very, very healthy 68 over it too. So I like QBTS. This seems like it wants more. Right now, this is the only line we got to get over. 506. We closed at 505. If this thing gets over 506, next stop is 10% more at 5. I thought it was 550. It's actually a little bit more than 10%, right? But yeah, 560 is basically next, and you can see even after that's another red, 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 green, green. Like there is such fast channels coming. It seems like this thing wants that 713 line right there, okay? Again, watch what Powell does. It's in 4 or 5 days, give or take. It's on the 18th. We're assuming he's going to drop it. They're assuming by 99%. It was actually a lot lower a month ago, too. It was below that 82 that you see right there. So confidence has built back up. Man, just make sure Powell does what Powell's supposed to do. And yeah, I mean, look at that volume right there, right? And this one is a little bit less like Rigetti. With Rigetti, I kind of got rid of some outliers, and this is now starting to get a little more parabolic, and it's actually starting to actually hold that 60 70-ish volume line, right? What was only a 2-day anomaly right here has actually been the consistent trading for most of the last week and a half, right? So some really, really big things happening here. And again, I think a lot of it just really is, even you can look at it in the weekly, all I'm seeing is red, 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 red to what could be a crazy green, green, green to that. Will that break? I don't know. I think I got it. Is that the golden line? Let me see. No, I have an IPO. This is actually the real golden line. We'll get to that. I can't even draw that one. We're nowhere near that one yet, but that's a big, big line right there. I think that's the equivalent of that 613 line on or 690, whatever, on Rigetti. But again, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. That's a good MACD. I'm assuming the RSI is going to recover. That's a healthy 68. Just make sure the volume holds, right? Our bare minimum volume here is basically 70 million in a 7-hour day. I don't need a calculator for that, right? We're looking for at least 10 million shares an hour. That's what the requirement is right here. Where are we on the weekly? We're moving on up, right? I already flashed that red, red, red right there. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at IONQ here, okay? I'm still really liking IONQ a lot. Look, I know it's one thing I talked about was on this giant climb, we never used the 20 moving average, right? We get real close to it right there, but we never used it. We got real close right there, but we never used it, right? This was the first time we used it, and that's okay, right? That's why these two, we look at them together, and then these three, we kind of look at them separately, right? So IONQ is doing some beautiful technical jobs. It is, look, a golden line's a tough line. It is. It's the golden line for a reason, right? But when you have an RSI as high as 93, you bring it down to as low as 44, all I can really think is you're ready to reset it back to what, maybe 75 at least, hopefully maybe back into the 90s, right? So this is actually a very healthy cool down, even though all it did was go horizontal, right? And again, that shows the strength of the stock, it shows the strength of the sector, it shows the strength of the index, right? As long as NASDAQ's all-time highs, what can you expect from tech stocks as well, right? So really, really liking what I'm seeing here. I don't think it's worth drawing. I guess I could draw it. Yeah, let's put the next line. Again, I actually still think that golden line is far more important. I do. I really, really do. I need to believe we've broken this 31. I realize today was a good 12% candle over it, but I need one more candle. I need this to close over 36.40. If we can get over 36.40, I'll call it confirmation. Again, this actually got over two moving averages as well. I need good confirmation with just one. I need better confirmation with two. Sprinkle in a golden line, right? That's actually my requirement for confirmation, for sure. And in fact, I need to raise it a couple of pennies. That's the actual line. It's 36.54. That actually puts me over on that candle and it gets me into this one. That's the real line to get over. If we get over this, I'm expecting another 20% gain on top of that. So IONQ, look, I don't really know the fundamentals behind any of the four of these. I really don't. It feels like Rigetti and IONQ are kind of number one and number two, with the other two kind of fighting for three and four. Let me know if you do disagree with that. But yeah, I do. I don't know which one's number one, by the way, between RGTI and IONQ. Obviously, volume. I'm a volume guy, right? I love volume. You can tell, and that leans me towards Rigetti. I love the consistency and the sustained uptrend of this, and I think that has a different strength to it on its own. You know what I mean? So even the volume kind of speaks to that, right? We're basically living on the volume line. And that's difficult to do, especially as it rises as much as it has, right? So yeah, just a couple questions for the team there. But either way, I'm loving the technicals on the daily. Oh, did this freeze on me? Let's give it a second. Let's see if it did. Again, just in case you fast forwarded, look, NASDAQ looks really good. Make sure S&P 500 and Dow Jones are able to recover. My working assumption is as long as Powell does drop the rates like he's supposed to, that should probably take care of itself. Where are we? Are we still frozen here? I think I might need to reset this. Give me a sec. Oh no, there we go. There we go. Cool. Where are we on the weekly? Look, not the prettiest of RSIs. We actually do have red over green there, but hey, MACD still positive. Little kiss of the 8 moving average. Yeah, no, I don't think there's too much to take away from this. How high were you on the RSI? Yeah, 91, 91, 89. Yeah, I mean, it needed a little. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. It doesn't look fantastic. There's at least a little bit here saying 28, 28 might be realistic. That would mean losing this 31 line. I just don't know if it will. But keep that. Look, like I said, this is just one candle, right? If we lose that 32 line, if we lose below the 20 moving average, maybe that's where just keep that 28 something in your back pocket right there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Last of the four is QUBT. So I believe that this thing did an offering, if I'm not mistaken. Look, personally, I don't mind offerings. Okay, there's nothing on this screen that talks about share count. To me, if you at the beginning of the year, no, this summer, not even in the beginning, it was actually only a couple months ago, this was as low as 37 cents a share. If someone is willing to make you an offering anywhere up here and actually give you millions of dollars at just for some of your shares, that's a good thing, right? You don't have to take out bad loans. You can hopefully get better computers, get better GPUs. I'm not that smart. I don't know the words, or the acronyms, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? So I don't mind offerings. I generally assume stocks go down in offerings. This is the only one of the four that has both the MACD and the RSI with red over green. This one, I'm going to zoom in to get rid of those big days, is also the only one that's struggling as much to get over the 50-day line, right? So I think I would say that this one is the weakest of the group, all right? If this can get over 803, I mean, there's a lot of good from there. You can see the next line up is basically 11, right? But I think right now that's kind of where I would need to get over. Maybe you can make an argument for like 730, right? There's basically a 10% move to that 8, and just in case, like even if it doesn't break 10%, it's not that bad, right? But yeah, I think I'd rather break the 8 and make a better move if that happens, right? But definitely something to watch. And again, I always assume they're going to move together. Personally, I think I'm going to focus on the strength of the first 3 ticker lower indicators than overly worry about those two right there, right? And again, especially if volume was better and these were bad, I think I'd be more worried. I think that's a easy way to say that. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I can see us maybe. Nah. Let's come here. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's actually maybe real. Okay. If we lose the 20 moving average, which is basically $6, the next place that should hold it is going to be 560, 550. If that fails, it might actually come down to that basically 5 line. Mine's at $4.94 right there. All right. But yeah, again, I would want this to break over 8. This needs more volume though, for sure. That's definitely what's missing here. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.